Hi. I'm recording this off of my phone in like the middle of the night. I'm recording this at the point of the month for me, where it's still like really hot. Even at nighttime, it's like too hot for me to get on my computer. Otherwise, I would be, using my mic and probably sounding better. But yeah, that'll heat up the room too much. So I'm recording this off my phone. And if you hear any like background noises or whatever, I'm just like saying this in advance. I needed to cool the room off, so my window's open. I can like kind of hear noises outside. I don't know if that's probably not being picked off the phone. But yeah, I just wanted to mention I'm recording off my phone because when I do that, I have to talk like really, really close into the phone to make sure you can actually hear me. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about a show called The Goes Wrong Show. It's this British comedy series that's like a play inside of a TV show, but it also is actually kind of a play as well. I'll like explain as I go. It's 6 episodes, which is pretty nice. I watched this on Amazon. It said that the first season was like 7, but what counts as the 7th episode is just like a little bit that's literally like 2 minutes. It's not even like an actual episode. So there's really just 6. And the thing that was kind of annoying with watching this on Amazon, I don't know if it's like on other streaming services, is I don't think it had the episodes in order because like it starts off with like a Halloween episode, like horror themed, that the characters even say like, "Oh, this is the Halloween episode." But they don't treat it as like the actual first episode, and they have like this little opening narration during like every single episode, and they'll refer to like, "Oh, for this week's play or last week's play or whatever," and it like doesn't match the order I'm watching. So I don't know what the actual order is. I probably could just like look it up on IMDb, but I feel like it's easier for me to actually just talk about it in the order that I watched it, which was the Amazon order, because I feel like that'll actually help me with remembering things in order. Because I binged this in like 2 days. It's really short. Like each episode's half an hour. Like I said, it's only 6 episodes. I could have just honestly watched this in like one day if I like started early enough. Actually, no, I think I watched this within like 3 days. I took breaks to like watch other stuff. Because the nice thing is, each episode is like its own. It's like a play of the week thing. So each episode stands alone. So I was thinking like, yeah, I could watch like other things in the meantime, which I did. I like wanted to take my time and enjoy this as well because it was actually like so funny. I thought, okay, if I just watch it all at once, then it's gonna be gone. It's like, what am I gonna watch next? Because like I'm someone that really likes comedies, but I feel like not every comedy I watch is really funny. I feel like there's only a few for me where it's like I'm laughing so hard there's like tears in my eyes or whatever, which that I didn't get to that point, but there was I was laughing a lot through like a lot of the episodes with this, and there was like a point with like two of the episodes, like my two favorites, where I laughed so hard it was like really hard for me to breathe, and I feel like with like comedy shows that doesn't really happen to me a lot. The way I actually found out about the series, because it isn't just a TV show, it's like these like theater performers, it's like a company or whatever where they do like full on plays too. I didn't actually realize like how expansive it was until I was like kind of looking into all this. Because they have a like an actual, because this TV show, it's like 30-minute episodes and stuff, 30-minute like little plays. They have like full on like 2 hour, 2.5 like normal sized like stage plays and whatever. There's I think like 4 of them. And I had originally found one of them. It's called Peter Pan Goes Wrong, because like every thing that they make in this series is like the something goes wrong. So this one's, the show that goes wrong or whatever. But yeah, the Peter Pan Goes Wrong one, that one is on YouTube. It's free with ads, and I didn't know what it was actually. I thought it was like a movie and not something like actually on stage. I thought it was like gonna be like a really weird movie about Peter Pan, and then I saw it was actually just like a comedy play on Peter Pan where the whole thing goes wrong. I remember that one was really funny. I haven't seen it in like years. It was just kind of something I watched and I thought it was cool, and I just assumed it was like that one thing, And then I realized when I was scrolling Amazon Prime a couple days ago, like, oh wait, this show is like the same concept. I've had it on my list for like a while. You know, when you add something to like a streaming service list, you just forget about it for like months. Yeah, and now I'm like, okay, this show was so funny. Not only do I feel like I have to rewatch the Peter Pan one again, um, but they also have some other ones. Because like I said, they have four, I think like four plays or something, like four or five. And the Peter Pan one, and there's one, I think it's the Christmas Carol one, are like both on YouTube, free with ads. But there's also the play that goes wrong, and there's one that's about like spies or something. Those I couldn't find. I saw on YouTube there's like kind of like smaller theater productions of the play goes wrong, but it's like I really like the specific cast, and it's more of like, you know, like a professional quality. So I couldn't find it. I was bummed, but there's gonna be at least two, you know, actual plays of this I'm gonna get to watch on YouTube. I don't know if I'll do videos on those as well. We'll see, because I might just watch those tonight. I might save those for tomorrow. I don't know. And I'm going to be, like, putting this together in, like, a couple of weeks or so when it eventually isn't hot and I can, like, finally use my computer. I just wanted to record this at, like, the time I'm watching all of this, so not trying to remember it, like, weeks later or whatever. But yeah, there may be videos in those. There might not. I might just even write my thoughts for both of them in, like, the comments of this video if there's not really much I want to say. We'll see. But I thought the fun would be, with, like, talking about this show, is that sorry, I don't know why I'm, like, losing my breath here. Every episode of the show is, like, a different, theme, too. There's, like, one that's a courtroom drama, there's, like, a horror one, there's one that's, like, a period romance, like, they're all different. And there was all, like, different jokes and things with each one that I liked. That's kind of the main thing I'm going to talk about, actually, is just, like, the jokes that I found really funny and kind of just, like, my thoughts, I guess, on them. So if you've never, like, heard of the show, I feel like I kind of need to explain the concept a little bit before I get into this. It's basically that in-universe, I mean, this is, like, actual, like, theater people and stuff, like, in real life, I mean, that are, like, performing these. They're performing it in front of, like, a actual, like, live studio audience, but then there's also cameras there to record it, so, you know, it's like a show. So it's, like, actual performances you can see, but at the same time, it's, like, available on TV as, like, a show. And that's how they explain it in universe as well, of, like, in front of an audience. Which you do get to see the audience sometimes, which is kind of cool. And you also can sometimes, like, see the cameras, and it means that the actors can actually, like, step away from, like, the cameras sometimes. You can sort of see them in the theater space. That's pretty cool. It's, like it's, like, a TV show, but it's also performed live, so it's, like, real. Just, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, it's like a real group of actors, but then they're playing this like fake theater company of like bad actors where things go wrong. And the things go wrong, I feel like I can explain a little bit, where it's either because they're playing these characters that are actors that are playing characters, but the like fake actors, like, I don't really know what to refer to them as. They all kind of have little things that they do in every performance, or like, you know them as like the person that does this or whatever, no matter like which episode character they're playing. Like, for example, there's this guy that will get like really into character, and then he'll like start smiling towards the camera or do things like purposely mess up in order to be like funny or whatever. And sometimes the other people have to tell him, like, you know, to quit, like, goofing around and stuff. There's, like, another guy that, like, they're not in universe, like, a good theater troupe. They're all supposed to be, like, bad actors and stuff. But there's, like, oh, hold on a second. Sorry, I, had to answer a text about something. I might get interrupted again. anyway, there's a guy that is like supposed to be worse than everyone else, so they don't put him in like any of the lead roles, and they always put him as either like an animal or an object or a decoration, where he'll have sometimes like lines or something, which usually ends up messing up. He's usually the character I feel sorry for, honestly, but he also ends up being funny because even when he's playing like an object or whatever, he always finds a way to make it like really funny or have like a few lines. There's like a guy that's always messing up, a guy that's always like making people laugh when he's not supposed to, or like mostly making himself laugh. There's another guy, I think his name is Chris, because like the actor characters have like names and personalities and stuff too. I just don't really remember all of them. So I'm probably going to refer to them as like whatever character they're like playing in that week's play. There's a guy, I think his name is Chris, and he's not, because each actor isn't in like every single one of the plays, but he's in a lot of the beginning ones, where he always just gets like he's like really the most like trying to be serious out of all of them, but gets like really, really angry to the point where it's like, whoa, dude, you need to chill. Which makes it kind of funny because he has these usually like lead roles. And then I think in the last one for the season, he's playing like a snowman or something, and it's like such a completely different vibe. And it's like one of the times when he's actually not getting kind of angry at the other actors or anything. He's playing like a really happy character of this snowman. There's this one other guy who is always hamming up his performances so much, where he's like either really, really loud or like yelling all the time, or like his character has to die and he'll make so much like drama out of it. He ends up playing a Santa character in the Christmas episode where he's like trying to give children an acting book that he wrote about how he performs. I have so much to say in the Santa character. Actually, he was one of my favorites. There's, I think, more male actors in this and female actors. There's some of the female actors where it's like I didn't feel like they had a specific quirk, so there's not like too much to say. I remember one that I really like. She plays kind of not usually like the lead role, but will play like a housekeeper or a general, or just kind of like a lot of these like side roles. But she was someone I found really funny. Oh wait, no, the guy that like is always assigned like animals or objects. I forgot. There's one time he gets a lead role, or like more of like a main character role, or like a human role, I should say. It's in the court drama one, and I was thinking like, okay, he finally gets like a more important role, but he's like constantly messing up his lines. Forgot about that one. My throat's getting kind of dry, but I don't have any water up here, so if my voice gets kind of messed up with this later, sorry about that. Trying to think of the other ones. So it's like there's like a main cast of these like in-universe actors, but there's sometimes other roles that are like really small where they'll have like other people and it'll just be for that like one episode or so. So I don't know how many actors there like actually are in like the real life troupe, but it's maybe at least like 6 people that you're like always seeing in different roles and stuff. Okay, so that's like pretty much the premise of it, and it's like, yeah, the in-universe acting is like supposed to be bad, and the sets are like badly built. There's a lot of physical comedy in this, which ended up being like one of my favorite things, where it's like people, it kind of in a way that reminded me of like, it kind of reminds me a little of SNL sometimes, where it's like characters will like fall through a wall, or something in the set falls down and it reveals like the stage technicians or whatever. There's like things with the sets itself, or like the props a lot of the time the props will be like stuck to something, like someone will try to open a box or pick up food on a plate and it's like stuck. And then whenever they have an animal character, it's never like an actual animal. It's always like a very obvious like plushie or a robot. There's one play where they have like a like some kind of robot dog that's on like a skateboard or whatever. That's something I'll talk about in one of these. And yeah, there's just so many like wacky gags. And I think what's also really fun with this is like something, you know, within the show will like go wrong and the actors have to, you know, improvise or whatever. And it's usually those times with those improvisations that it ends up making a scene just like so much more funnier that it should be. And it'll like, and a lot of the jokes will kind of like go on for a while, but I usually didn't mind because it's like I would be laughing at something and just and things would like escalate or whatever. Sometimes it did feel like they'd go on for like a bit where I'm like, okay, I kind of get it at this point. I'm like waiting for it to move on to the next scene because the play will have to like the storyline will kind of have to like pause just so you could get through like the whole joke and everything. But yeah, usually I didn't mind. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the episodes now. Like I said, there's 6 of them. I don't know what the correct order for these are. Hold on. Let me get myself comfy for this. There we go. Okay, so the first one is a horror-themed episode, because each one's a different genre. It's called The Lodge. That's, I think, the thing that originally threw me off, actually, because I thought, oh, that's weird for the show where it's starting with, like, a horror-themed episode. I thought they would have started with something else, but it's supposed to be, like, their Halloween episode, which was kind of interesting and kind of, like, for me, in that I usually love, like, Halloween specials for shows, so I was excited of, like, oh, cool, we're starting with a genre I like, but at the same time, I thought, man, what if I really like this one and then I'm not as interested in, like, the others, which, this horror episode, it was called The Lodge, that's the name of the play, was my favorite for a while until I got to the Christmas one, and then the Christmas one became my favorite. I'd say The Lodge is, like, my second favorite, but, like, now that I watched all of these, oh, wait, I didn't explain, there's 2 seasons of this show. I'm only talking about the first season, because for some reason they have it where the second season you have to, like, pay for it. It's not even, like, my Amazon account, it's my brother's, so I'm not gonna pay for it. But, you know, the first season was, like, enough content where I feel like I could talk about it, got the gist of the show, and plus it was really fun and I was gonna talk about it anyway. So yeah, this isn't, like, all the episodes of the show. I doubt it's probably gonna be, like, made free, so I guess I'll probably never end up watching the second season, but if I find it on, like, another streaming service or something, that would be cool. And at least I have, like, the plays to eventually talk about, too, because those are pretty funny as well. Looking forward to them. But the other thing with The Lodge is, like, I feel like I can't say now that I've watched all of these how funny it actually was, because it was, like, because I didn't really remember any of the Peter Pan stuff, so it's as if I was watching this concept fresh again of, like, a play where everything, you know, goes wrong. I'm gonna switch my lights. I'm, like, right under my ceiling light, but it's, like, making this really warm. Sorry about this. I feel like I'm gonna have to be, like, talking about this for a bit, so I gotta, like, get comfy. Okay, I think I'm good. So yeah, it's like I was kind of being sort of reintroduced to this concept again, so I feel like I'd have to watch The Lodge a second time to see, like, okay, was it actually funny, or was it just, like, you know, goofy things are happening, so I'm, like, laughing at it and stuff. But I think what made The Lodge work, and I was, like, I wasn't even thinking so much of, like, all these things are, like, in-universe going wrong. is because it's like a horror episode that takes place in like a spooky mansion and stuff where like, if you're like in an old mansion in a horror movie or whatever, the things would break and things would go wrong anyway. So if anything, that like really fit in with the episode actually. But yeah, the plot of this one is that and I'm not reading like a plot description, I'm just like going off my head for these from what I remember. There's like a family, and they end up staying in this lodge in this big house, and it belongs to this like rich older guy. And he has a deceased wife, and there's like ghosts and things and other stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna spoil like the endings or some of the like big plot twists within these like play storylines. I'm just giving that as like a heads up. There may be like spoilers of things I say if there's like a joke in there that I found funny or whatever. But yeah, I liked this one. Oh yeah, there's always or there's usually a gimmick with a lot of these episodes of like something right off the bat that ends up being wrong. Like there's one episode where this part of the set is built at like 90 degrees. There's another one where it's like really tiny. Or other stuff. They almost have like conditions with some of the plays. I think the one for the lodge was like they ended up running like 3 minutes late or something, so they had this joke where it was like every time they described something, they'd have to cram in like 10 different adjectives to the point where it's just kind of unnecessary for describing an object to like save up the minutes. So it's like they describe let's say they're describing a person. It's like, look at this lovely, sweet, kind, wonderful, whatever person. It would just kind of go on for a bit, and they're having to say it like so fast. That was like kind of funny. And I think the thing with the set was that there was something with the set. I don't remember. I was going to say that they had like doors and things that wouldn't go anywhere, but that actually happens with like a lot of the episodes where it's like they'd open a door to like go, they're supposed to go to another room, and it would be like a sealed up wall or a really tiny place or whatever. There's a joke with one of those door things in the second episode I'll talk about later. I remember with this one there was a room that was supposed to go to a study, and it was like there wasn't anything on the other side of the door, so the person was like that would go in the study was like always falling through and stuff, like, and would sometimes get pushed through the other side. That was like kind of funny. I know it's something they do a lot in like plays in general, because all of the all of the actors are like adults, but I think this is one of the only ones where there was like a child character, so it was like a child character that was being played by an adult, so it led to like funny scenes. I remember there's one where it's like the daughter, she looks like she's supposed to be like probably like 8 or whatever, and she's getting picked up by her mom, but like the actress, it's supposed to be like where she can't lift up the other person, so it's like this mother lifting up her child and just like can't do it. But then later on you see her lift like what's supposed to be an adult character, and she like does it with ease, so that was kind of funny. Let me see what else. The character of the guy that owns the manor, he was pretty funny. He ends up on the staircase. I don't know what it's supposed to be within the storyline. I don't know if it's like he's supposed to be like floating, but he has to sit on this like, I forget what it's called, that like chair thing they have on stairs that goes up and down for like elderly people or something. They have him on one of those, and there's like, I think a couple of times in the play where it either speeds up too fast or it gets stuck. I think at one point it goes down the stairs so fast he gets like actually flung through a wall. That was pretty funny. When the chair thing ends up eventually getting stuck, there's like a long bit where it's like, I think in the scene he's supposed to be like laughing or something, and he ends up for like 5 minutes or something. I'm not even kidding with it. He's like trying to figure out how to get the stairs thing to move again because he's supposed to be leaving in the scene. And as he's doing it, he's continuing the laugh because that happens a lot where they have to improvise in this, and it's like they're repeating dialogue or they're doing some kind of action to as they're waiting for whatever is causing them to not be able to continue the scene. So he's laughing and it's like laughter and then it turns into awkward laughter and he's able to keep it up for like 5 minutes or whatever as he's like trying to fix, and it wasn't even the stuff of him like trying to fix the chair that was funny to me. It was just the awkward laughter. It's like I kept laughing at it, but it also just kind of sounded creepy because it's like, for this character it's supposed to be like so forced, but like that was like the first time within the storyline I was like, okay, this is actually like a lot of some of these jokes like pretty funny and stuff. There's the guy that's supposed to like play really really small parts. He ends up as, and I think he has a role like this in the Peter Pan one too. He ends up as like a deer head on the wall, and instead of having like an actual like deer head on the wall, it's just you could see his face and he like pops out of the wall and there's like a deer mask on top of him or something. And his thing in this episode is that he just has like one line. I think it's like get out or something, or yeah, I think it's get out, but he keeps saying it at the wrong time. He says it like too early, or he says something else or whatever, and it gets to the point where he finally has to say the get out line and he ends up messing it up. But one of the other actors is like getting madder and madder at him about it. I think that was a joke in the Peter Pan one too. I'm like kind of remembering it as I'm like talking. But like that was kind of funny as well because you think like it's just a person shouting get out. It's like how funny can you make that? But because he keeps like messing up, or he'll like shout it in the middle of like a scene he's not supposed to be in. Yeah, that was pretty funny. There's a point where it's supposed to rain outside like a thunderstorm, and there's like another play I think where it also is supposed to rain. But with this one, instead of having like water pouring outside of like the fake house set, they just have it where like a character says, "Oh, it's supposed to rain," and they like toss a bucket of water at her like multiple times. There's one point where she goes to dodge it, and then she leans back towards the window, and they toss the bucket of water at her again. That was pretty funny. It reminded me of like there's another point where there's like a hole in the ceiling in one of the plays, so one of the actors is like constantly just getting drizzled on by water as if it's like actual rain. There's a lot of like funny water-based things in these actually. There's one where it's like the characters are supposed to be like crying, and there's another person that's like just literally squirting like a toy water gun like in their face, but they're getting covered in like so much water. And then the lodge, because it's like a horror thing, they have it where it's like this ghost, like the ghost of the owner's wife, pops up. She wasn't really like much of a character, but I thought her appearances were pretty funny. Where she'd have to do something spooky, and it does look a little spooky, and then things would go wrong, and then it's just all the level of spookiness is just like gone, honestly. I think there's like other ghost shenanigans as well, and then the plot for this like ghost story one is like this wife ghost is like trying to possess the mother of the family or whatever, but the possession ends up not happening, and I think it's like everyone ends up like shooting each other or something. And there's like a policeman character. I think something goes wrong with the shooting stuff, where the daughter has to like character has to like pretend to be dead or whatever. I don't think she's supposed to be within like the actual storyline though. And there's a police. It's because like the policeman doesn't show up in time. Because there's this other gag where it's like sometimes for certain characters the doors just will not open, so they're like stuck outside during a scene or whatever. And the policeman isn't able to get the door open in time, and he sees the daughter, and you can tell from the dialogue like, oh, she's supposed to be alive, and he rescues her, but she's just laying on the floor, and she like continues playing dead, and he has to like drag her out, and his just kind of talking to her as if she's alive, but like everyone is on the floor like dead. But yeah, that one was pretty like I feel like in the time I was watching it, it was funny. But like now that I'm talking about it and I'm thinking of the jokes from some of the other ones, I feel like it's not as funny. Like I said, I'd have to watch it again. But yeah, I do like horror stuff. So I feel like that was like a good starting episode for me anyway. But yeah, that's just kind of how it turned out, where that ended up being the first one I watched. So then the second episode is called The Pilot. They have a joke with it as well, because, you know, for a TV show, when something's called The Pilot, it's like the test episode, basically, to see if the show is, like, actually going to get picked up. But they make a joke with that, where the storyline is called The Pilot because it's about, like, World War II and about a pilot character. So whenever they're talking to this pilot character, there's, like, text on the screen that'll say, the pilot, not the pilot. They like kind of explain the joke a couple times, but it's like this World War II story about this pilot, and he's missing a leg, and it's like him and these other people, I think it's these two other women, and they're working as like operatives that have to like decode messages, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's like this whole operation they're doing. So it's like these three coworkers. I think one of them's French. There's a like general guy that they're like taking orders from. He ended up being pretty funny. They have Hitler as a character. I don't know within like the storyline if he's like actually supposed to like appear in it or not, but he keeps showing up in like the background, or like the actor playing him, and he has to always like get out of the scene. There's a joke with him that was kind of funny to me, where they have like a picture of him on this like pull down screen thing, and it's just like the top half of him, and the actor has to like hide behind it at one point, so you just see his legs, so it looks like he's just like actually standing in the room. But a lot of the scenes with him, he's having to like scramble out of the room. It's in like such a comedic way. It was almost, I guess because it's like a Hitler character and stuff, reminding me of like Jojo Rabbit a little bit. So yeah, they just kind of have Hitler as a character, but I don't know what he's supposed to be doing in terms of like the plot of the actual play, because his character like never has any lines or anything. There's a pilot character, like I mentioned, and he's missing a leg. And at first they have it where the actor like is just lifting his leg up to like butt levels, so you can't see his leg, and it like works fine at first, but like the mechanism for it like breaks or whatever. There's so many things that break in these episodes. So he ends up putting on a sock that is the same pattern as a wall behind him, and at first, like when he first does that, it looks fine, and it's like, oh, okay, his leg's blended in, it kind of does make it look like he doesn't have a leg. But then he steps away from the wall, because he has to, like, walk around and stuff. So, like, throughout the rest of the play, he's just wearing this sock that is just the pattern of the wall, but, like, doesn't match with anything with his uniform. That was, like, kind of funny a bit. I'm trying to think what else. I think probably one of my favorite scenes in this episode is, like I mentioned, there's a general guy, and he, I guess, has this, like, past romantic relationship. Hold on, I'm gonna turn it down a bit. It's still a bit hot in here. 1 second. He has, like, a past relationship with, like, the female lead character, and at one point, it's supposed to be, like a sexy scene, you know? He's, like, getting out of a shower, and he's, I think, like, in a towel or something, and he's supposed to be this, like, really buff dude or whatever. And he's being played by one of the female actresses, where it's just that she's not even, like, wearing a wig or anything. I think she has, like, a ponytail and, like, is wearing this, like, fake giant mustache or something, like one of those curly mustaches. And, so it's, like, it's her playing this character, but then they keep doing these little tricks where it's, like, to make her look like she's really buff, they have, like, an actual buff guy, but they'll, like, cover his face, or, where they'll have it where it's like the character's drying his face with a towel, so it's like it's the buff person walking around, but you can't see his face. Then it switches back to like the actress, and she'll be like behind the curtain or whatever. But it was like kind of just really funny the way they did it, and like kind of well done, where it's like you see the tricks, but then they keep breaking or whatever. So it's like she's giving this dialogue of like trying to like flirt with this other character. There's this one point where she like goes up to a mirror, and it's like the camera's pointing in a way where we see the actress, and then the really buff guy is like on the other side of the mirror, but the mirror's in a position where it's like it's blocking his face, so it just makes it look, the reflection look like it's like this really buff character, but because it's like this head and this body that like completely don't match, it just ends up being really funny. So that was I think the funniest scene to me. There's a character, well, not really a character, but one of the actors, the one that like does kind of worse than the others, in universe, I mean, is playing this. They have like a transmission machine or something that will like I not like a modern day like fax machine or whatever, because you know it's supposed to take place in like the 40s, but it'll like transmit the messages and copy out these like papers and stuff. So it's just this big red button thing, and it's like a hat that this guy is wearing. It doesn't look like a hat though, but it's like treated as such, and it's like a really easy job. He just has to go like beep beep beep, and then or it's not beep beep beep, I think it's like a different sound. And then he has to give them the papers, but he keeps giving them the wrong papers. And for an actor that's playing like a literal object that has like probably a very like basic boring job, he brings like so much life to it, honestly. Where the beep beeps or whatever, I think it's like beep beep or whatever. I wish I remembered what the sound effect was that he's doing. Will match like a certain emotion or something, where sometimes it would like the subtitle end in a question mark, and he'll sound like kind of confused, as if like the object is sentient or whatever, even though it doesn't have lines. Or he'll give them papers, but it'll have like the wrong information. Oh, that's another thing, because things keep going wrong in these episodes, it will usually spoil something really important in like the storyline later. So like with this episode, they have it where one of the characters is supposed to be like a spy, and it's supposed to be a big twist, but the little transmission machine gives like the wrong paper at one point, and a character reads it out loud, and it says which character is the spy. So you end up like knowing that like way too early. But then it's kind of more fun that way, because then you're waiting to see like, okay, how is this person going to be revealed as the spy later on? Or like in one of the episodes I just watched, I think it was the period romance one, someone will touch a specific character, and there's like a gunshot sound or whatever, something like that plays, and you're like, what? But you realize, oh, this person's supposed to die, and then they do get shot like later on. So it's like stuff like that, where like a certain like plot twist that's supposed to be in the climax gets like accidentally revealed like way too early. But that just makes it like funnier, honestly. But yeah, this little transmission machine character, I think that was kind of my favorite out of all the ones this like in-universe actor ends up playing, because it was just really funny to me. Or no, I like the time when he plays the horse too. That was also kind of funny. But yeah, the pilot episode, or the one about the pilot, I mean, when I first watched, I thought like, oh, this isn't as funny as like the horror one. And I kind of did feel that way for a while, but now that I've watched all of them, I think I liked all of these episodes, actually. There's always at least something that I found really funny. And this is, I think, like the first time where it's like characters that are supposed to be romantic towards each other. Oh, that's the other thing, where sometimes, I don't know if it's like required by the plot, where they have to like kiss each other or something. But like someone will go for a kiss, and then it'll turn into like a hug instead, or the other person just like won't kiss them. So that was always really funny. And it's kind of funny for me to think about because I remember the main thing with the Peter Pan one wasn't just that things were going wrong, but it was like compared with the show, there was kind of a bit more going on in terms of like the character actors, where it's like they were constantly like trying to kiss each other or like have like sex or whatever. There was like relationship drama within these like actor characters that you didn't really see much in like the Going Wrong show, because in the show it's like they get into arguments or sometimes use their real names or whatever, but then the Peter Pan one it's like they were straight up like hooking up with each other like in real time and everything. It like escalated like crazy. So it was like funny to me with this where it's like they would try to kiss each other and the other person just would not go for it. Um, but yeah, they do end up catching the spy. I'm not going to say which character it is. And I think that one ends with like a happy ending, which is kind of nice because like the horror one ends up with like almost everybody dead. But the pilot one, I think, is that the war ends up like ending and stuff. But yeah, that one didn't feel like as funny as some of the other ones. I feel the same way with the next episode. I'm going to talk about the courtroom drama one. But I liked both the episodes. Okay, so the courtroom one, that's called A Trial to Watch. The gimmick with that one is that they make the set way too tiny. Where they have it in a way where it's like the actors can actually fit inside the little set for like the courtroom itself. But they have it where everyone's squeezed together, so it just looks really funny. And sometimes I felt so bad for them where they'd have to move because they have to do like whatever the hell the scene requires them to do, even if it's like completely ridiculous or painful or whatever, which was like so funny. But I thought like, oh man, like I know it's not all real, like it kind of is and it kind of isn't, but it's still like crazy to watch, honestly. So like the courtroom one is at their, well, there's like I think like a couple of sets within this one. Actually there's like the really teeny tiny courtroom where they're all like packed together and sometimes they're like hitting each other with the furniture and stuff. And I think what made it funnier too is like they have these characters that are supposed to be like the jury and they're just sitting there the whole time and they're like not allowed to like laugh or react. They're not part of like the main acting group or anything. But they get involved in some of the hijinks too. The courtroom stuff itself, I was kind of a bit more like meh on. I thought it was going to be funnier. But they have several segments in this where it's like flashbacks, when they're telling stories and recounting stuff in court. And those parts were really funny. There's like a couple of different scenes within it. I think one where it's like a living room. There's another one where it's like, I think a gym or something. And there's like another one where it's like a science lab or whatever, and they have it where it's like to create those rooms, it's instead of being like actual rooms, it's like two halves of the room that are like joined together, and a lot of the time they put like a couch in the middle, so it's like someone will sit on it and then the scene ends and those room pieces, as I'll call them, get split away, so it's like someone will like fall or whatever. I think one of the funniest things with it was like it eventually gets to a point where it's like the wrong pieces of the room will be like matched together or something, so the actors have to like navigate that. There's a because it's like a courtroom case about a murder, and there's like flashbacks. Oh yeah, you do end up finding out that someone ends up being guilty like way too on. Like you find the actual verdict of the case. So it's like, okay, how is this going to get like proved and stuff? I don't remember if that's actually what ends up happening though. I don't remember if the person ends up guilty. But it is like something to do with like murder. But they have it where there's like a flashback thing, a specific scene where it's like the main character and his brother are arguing, and they have to do it like 3 times throughout the play. And like the first time it goes normal where they're in a living room, and then the other 2 times it's like the sets end up getting meshed together wrong, and by then it's like how the scene and the dialogue is supposed to go. It's like the same dialogue every time. They're forced to interact with different objects, and it just makes it so much funnier. I think that was my favorite part with the whole courtroom episode. So it starts off in like a living room. They're getting into like this really heated argument. I think out of the acting, that was like one of my favorite parts and like how well done it was. It made me feel like, oh right, this is like a comedy show, but like the acting is really good. I got like into it at that point. Um, but there's like a point where like someone in the original scene is like eating an apple, but then when they're in the laboratory room, it's like they have to pretend to eat something, and the only thing there is like a test tube with blue liquid, and they actually like how hard they go for the bit, even though it's not real, it's like still crazy, honestly. They have to like drink all of the blue liquid. Um, they have to just do a lot of crazy stuff. It's really fun. So there's stuff like that where it's like they have to improvise with the objects as well. I'm trying to remember stuff in the courtroom itself, because I'll be honest, I don't really remember that storyline very well. I know that part of it is like there's these two judges, and they had like a romantic I think they're judges. They have like a romantic relationship with each other or something, and you get to see the drama of that like behind the scenes. And it's like the entire courtroom is too small. So I remember the little like mallet thing is like doll sized or something, but they have a sound effect that plays as if it's like an actual mallet. So it's like the person barely taps it, and there's like this really loud like banging mallet sound. You know, when they go like order the court, that kind of thing. That was something that was pretty funny. Two of the people, they're sitting on a table and they can't get their legs underneath, so when they move to talk to the jury, it's like the other person is getting stabbed in the stomach by the table. That was pretty funny. Yeah, sorry, I just don't literally remember a lot from that one. Like I said, it's not like a bad episode. I thought all the episodes were like really good and well acted. There was always something funny, but for some of them I just like cannot. Some of them I remember better than others, I think is how I should word it. But I did like the gimmick of like how the sets were used, of like the courtroom being too tiny, and then the flashback scenes, the rooms kept getting messed up the wrong way. I think in terms of the sets, that was like my favorite episode with that. So then the next 3 episodes, my bad. As I mentioned, there was like technically a 7th, but it's not like an actual episode. It's basically they have Neil Patrick Harris, and for 2 minutes he's talking about the show, but it's like clips smashed together in the wrong way. It wasn't really that funny. I actually thought it was like a real episode at first, and I was excited, and I thought, oh, is he... I thought he was going to like be part of like the cast as like a guest star, and I thought that could be pretty funny. I think he'd fit in well. I thought it was going to be like a celebrity episode, but wasn't an episode. But yeah, the last 3 episodes, I watched all in one day. I watched them like a couple hours ago. So those are like a bit more fresh in my mind. Sorry, I have to get some water. My throat's like killing me here. Okay, I think I can keep talking now. Alright, so the next one is called 90 Degrees. It's supposed to be like this drama that takes place in like the deep south, like the, like the American South. I think it was supposed to take place in like the... Wait, no, never mind. I don't think I was gonna get the year right. But the play is called 90 Degrees, and they have this little explanation at the beginning, like the gimmick of it being like, oh, the set builders didn't understand, so they built the set to be 90 degrees. I thought like, okay, there's no way they're actually gonna do that, but they show the actual set at one point and the cameras, because they have it where it's like, set's built 90 degrees, but we made the cameras a certain way, so it's like it looks normal for you, but it's not actually normal for the actors. And it looks like they actually did make it like 90 degrees. I wish we could have seen more of it, because that was actually really cool. So it's like, it looks like everything's right side up, but then people's hair is like floating towards the ceiling, or they toss objects and it goes in like a different direction. It was a really fun gimmick, honestly. I don't think the entire set was built like that. I think it was supposed to be only like 2 rooms of this huge house. But it made for a lot of like physical comedy. That I think like physical comedy wise, that was probably one of my favorite episodes. But the time when I think when they first introduced the gimmick, they have the cameras like really far from the actors just so you get like a perspective of it. And I thought, oh man, it's like you see it and you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen? But the storyline for this one, this was one I didn't really remember as well. Where it's like this family of like this dying. Wait, no, was he dying? I think he was this like father and his kids, and one of them is in a wheelchair and is married to this like, I think like gold digger woman or something. She's like dresses really fancy and stuff. And then there's like a sister that's like kind of scheming, and I think also a brother, and somebody in the family is like having an affair, and there's like blackmail and all these things going on. Yeah. So let me think in terms of the jokes. A lot of the stuff with the rooms was pretty funny, where it's like characters would like fall out of doors. I think the times when they were in the kitchen was probably not the kitchen. I'm sorry, the dining room was really funny, where it's like they'd be sitting, and then if they got up from the table, you know, gravity would pull them in a certain direction, so they would get like flung towards the wall. Sometimes they actually went through the wall, or they'd have to like hang on to each other for dear life. Like there's a part where it's like supposed to be like two characters are gonna start making out on the table, but because, you know, the set's built wrong, it's like the woman in the couple is like getting on top of the table to go to kiss the guy, and then she gets like flung towards the wall and he has to like hold on to her ankles. So they're having this like sexy dialogue, and it's like she's like screaming her head off trying to not, you know, get pushed towards the wall and stuff. That was pretty funny. Whenever they left that room, I think it was that they ended up flying through the door to the set for the next room, but the rooms like built normally, so they would like fall into like a dresser or something, and it was like broken, and they had to like get up from that. Oh, this is the one with the dog. Yeah, I forgot about that. So the dog was one of the funniest things to me with this episode. So they have a character that's supposed to be a dog. I thought they were gonna just use the guy that they always assign to animals. They have him as the character in the wheelchair instead. So what they do for the dog is it's like a robot dog in that its legs are like metal and can move and stuff. And it's on like a little. I thought it was a skateboard. It was like remote controlled or something though, and the dog was. I think its legs were like permanently attached to the skateboard or something, but it would like flop over a lot of the time. And the thing is, the dog is supposed to like, because at first the prop looks cool where it's like actually able to sit. There was some time where it's like I clapped during this play because I was like legitimately impressed sometimes when things would actually go right. But like the dog sits and it seems like it's fine, but then it would like bump into things or like fall over, and it's supposed to have sorry, I'm laughing thinking about it. It's supposed to be able to like bark and stuff, and thankfully it's not like a voice chip inside of it or anything. Instead, it's like an actor. I think he plays one of the characters too, and he has like a headset, and he voices the dog in like real time and stuff. And that was probably my favorite in terms of the storyline, because at first it's normal where he would, you know, he'd go like woof, sit, or no, that's commands, bark, woof woof, not, did I say wolf? No, woof woof, that kind of thing. And he starts improvising, and things aren't going wrong at that point. He's just doing it because he feels like it, where he starts talking and responding to dialogue that people say when they're like kind of talking to the dog or reacting to things in the scene, and he justifies it as he's trying to give the dog internal dialogue, but he's saying the lines out loud, so it just sounds like the dog can talk, and he's like responding to what people can say, and it makes it so much funnier because he would like randomly do it, and he has his own like storyline within this storyline where he ends up leaving the microphone on a lot, so you hear him getting into arguments with people. They try to take the dog roll away from him and take his mic away from him, but it gets left on a lot of the times. There's one point where he goes to like order some food within like the building or whatever, or maybe he was outside, I don't know. And he ends up stealing something, and then at the end he gets like caught by the police. So that was not only like a really funny, like, I guess like B plot storyline going on. And the funny thing too is like he would say his lines or whatever, and the scene's supposed to continue, but the microphone was on, so he'd keep talking, and the other actors don't say anything or try to continue. It just, like, fully plays out of, like, this guy's misadventures, including when he's getting, like, arrested by the police. And you could hear other people's voices in the background. But it's, like, it wasn't just that was funny. It's, like, they would describe stuff or talk about things, and then the guy voicing the dog would talk, and it's, like, the complete opposite. Like, I think my favorite joke was a character, I think it was when someone was being accused for cheating, and one of the characters, the siblings, was like, you should be more like the dog. I think the dog was named, like, Ruffles or something. You should be more like Ruffles, who's kind and not greedy and whatever. And at the same time this is being said about the dog, the guy voicing the dog, it's when he's ordering his food, and he gets in an argument, and he's like, they're like, oh, the dog isn't greedy or whatever, and then the guy would be like, oh, this costs too much money, I'm gonna order the family size of this meal or whatever. And it was like all the exact opposite traits of the dog character, and just the timing of that joke was just really funny to me. And just whenever this guy would give the dog internal dialogue, that was like just literally commentary on his reactions of like what was happening in the storyline. It was also so funny because he's not like putting on a voice to voice this dog, it's like his actual voice, but it's like somebody that's like really like deeply voiced coming out of this dog that I don't think you ever actually see the face of this dog prop, which is good because some of the animal props or just some of the props end up looking like really cursed a lot of the time. And I think for this robot dog that was always falling over and stuff, it's probably the best we didn't see its face. I'm not even sure if it like had a face anyway. There's one point, I think, when it's in one of the messed up rooms, it ends up actually getting sucked towards the ceiling. I don't know how they ended up actually getting it down. But the dog, I think, was my favorite thing about that storyline, and just the guy voicing it. And the funny thing is too, the guy voicing the dog, he's like the same guy that's always having like incredibly like hammed up performances and stuff, and I think that honestly made it like so much better. But that was like the main things I remember, was like the guy and the rooms. I didn't really care about like the characters of the storyline for that one, so I didn't really find it like as funny. But the parts that were memorable were like definitely memorable. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I want to actually talk about the ending with 90 Degrees. So they have it where like a character is like having an affair and gets like blackmailed of like, oh, I won't talk about this affair if you like give me the company. I think it's to the sister. I think she's like the villain of the story or something. And then it turns out that she gets the company, admits what she knows anyway, which like ruins some people's lives. And then it turns out the fiance, her brother's fiance, is actually this woman's girlfriend, and they've been like working together the whole time. I didn't even see that twist coming. I was like, you know what? Good for these two for like pulling it off. But then I felt bad for the brothers because they like end up with nothing. Their dad ends up dying. Oh wait, the part when their dad dies, I know this is gonna sound like a little morbid, but let me like explain what the joke was actually really funny, where it's like a dramatic scene where he's in like a hospital bed and he's like dying, but that's one of the messed up rooms, right? So he says something of like, okay, I'll be going now. And it's supposed to be sad because like he means he's like dying, but he ends up just getting sucked up he like falls towards the ceiling at the exact same time, so he like literally leaves, and that cracked me up. But yeah, I wasn't expecting like so much relationship drama with this one, but it was pretty funny with that, of like all of these twists and things. And I did kind of like that the characters were a bit scheming for sure. Okay, so the next two are a period drama that's called Harper's. Yeah, I think it was Harper's Locket. I don't think I spelled Harper right. Why is it spelled with PR instead of RP? Um, and then the other one is called The Spirit of Christmas, which it's a Christmas episode. The Christmas one was my favorite, but I actually really liked the period drama one. I think what made it better for me was like I've been getting into like period romance like movies and stuff lately. Um, to the point where I'm actually still reading Pride and Prejudice. I've been like reading that for a month. I need to just like finish it at this point. Especially because like once I do, there's like some movies I get to watch afterwards, so that'll be fun. Um, but yeah, the period romance storyline in for the episode, that was a good episode, honestly. It had like plenty of funny moments. So it's like a simple storyline. It's like there's this like really rich family. There's like a elderly sick father and his two daughters, and one of the daughters, I'm assuming it's like the older daughter or something, she is engaged to this rich guy or something, that like turns out to be evil, but she's in love with this like stable boy, and I think his name is Harper. That's why it's called Harper's Locket, because he has a locket that ends up being plot important. But yeah, she's in love with this stable boy. He has a horse. The horse is played by an actor. The horse head is, for the costume, is very cursed. It does some very cursed things. I'll talk about that. And anyway, but yeah, she's engaged to this guy she doesn't love, and then I'm just gonna refer to him as like the rich villain guy. And then she has a sister, what the one that's in love with the stable hand is always wears a pink dress, and the other sister wears a yellow dress, so I might just refer to them that way. But the one in the yellow dress, she is actually in love with the rich guy, but like none of the other characters know. So it's like this family, this like dad and his sisters, and then these two other guys. There's a horse. There's also a maid character. I don't remember what her name is. And there's also a butler character. They both go through some funny stuff. The maid doesn't really have as much screen time, but it's basically like she kind of has to help like fix things up that go wrong, or she tries her best with it. I felt kind of bad for her. But there's like a gag with the butler that's kind of funny, where characters will walk through doors completely fine, like opening and closing them, but when it came to the butler for any door in this storyline, he just would not be able to open it as if it was locked, but then other characters could go through them completely normal, and he was always kind of stuck there, and you'd see him jingle the handle to the point where he has to like start jumping through windows. No, it's at one time he jumps through a window, and another time he sings. I'm assuming it was him doing it. If it was, I'm like genuinely impressed, where he sings such a high note that it cracks the glass. I mean, I don't think it was like actual glass, so I'm assuming it wasn't him singing it, but like it was still impressive. It was a very high note, and it like cracks the glass so you can go through, because he realizes like, okay, I'm not gonna go through these doors. He doesn't have much dialogue. He has like some fancy butler name that starts with an S. I don't remember, but it was funny because like he'd finally be able to like enter or exit, and then a character would immediately like call him back into a room or leave, and you're just like, okay, here we go. There's like one time where he actually gets to go through a door normally, and the audience clapped. I think it's like right towards the end, because it's like a big deal for him. And then there's like a oh, what's the sport? Is it cricket? No, I know what a cricket bat looks like. What's the one they played in Heathers where um it's like a little hammer thing? It's not actually a hammer, and they hit the balls through the little hoop things. I'm getting the language of this so wrong, but it's that little hammer thing. It's like on a long stick, and it hits him in the balls like right after he's able to get through a door, so he ends up falling over anyway, and that like made me laugh pretty good. But yeah, I like the butler character. What else? The sister in the yellow dress, she ends up having to play the piano a few times. She is like a player piano. It like plays itself. She's not, you can tell she's like not actually playing the piano. They do have to sing in this episode. I think they sing they sing in the Christmas episode too. And the actors like do actually sing. They all have like, for the ones that are allowed to sing, all have like pretty good voices actually. I was kind of surprised about that. But yeah, the sister in the yellow dress, she plays piano. The family has to sing. The piano player, like as in the piano itself, ends up getting stuck. Not in that it's repeating the same notes, but that it won't stop playing in like scenes when they're not supposed to play, to like the point where they try throwing pillows inside of it. There's a cat. I think in universe it's supposed to be like a real cat. I'm so used to them having fake animals, it actually threw me off. I didn't know the cat was supposed to be real, because there's a point where they're throwing pillows into the piano, and the piano machinery actually grinds stuff where it destroys it. I think you get where I'm going with this. They accidentally toss the cat in the piano and it screams, and the characters look like horrified, and then any other time they try to play the piano, you can hear the cat inside of it. They never take the cat out, by the way. I know I know in real life it's not like an actual cat, but because they treat it as if it's like real and it's like meowing horribly in there, like it's supposed to be like kind of like funny, not to like the in-universe actors though, they're horrified because they, even the moment when they toss the cat in, they hear it and they all just look like terrified. I know it's not real, but I was just like, oh no, they threw the cat in there, and that was like one of the only things in this show that like I couldn't actually laugh at. But yeah, I felt bad for the cat. But like the way they did the joke itself was like great, because you don't think that the cat's real. It doesn't look real until it like actually screams, and you're like, oh shit, you know what they did on accident. So the cat ends up stuck in the piano. So they don't play the piano much. The piano, I think, gets covered with like the feathers from the pillows or something. So it just becomes like less believable as the play ends up going on. The sister in the yellow dress, she ends up, I think most of my commentaries on her actually, she ends up doing a painting at the beginning. It's supposed to be like a painting of the rest of the family. And, they have it where she's not actually painting. It's like they have a painting prepped where, it's supposed to be this beautiful painting of the family, but it ends up getting covered in red paint, I think, part of it. And I guess she couldn't use it. So they have like a backup painting, but I think it's a painting that like the in-universe actress actually did, where there's like a giant frog in there, and the actors actually like question her about it, and she's like, oh, that's the only thing I knew how to paint. And there's a part that's funny where it said like, oh, you painted us smiling, like later on in the play, and the painting, because it was like raining outside, is like super smeared or whatever. So there's stuff like that ends up like being funny later on, because things keep going wrong. But I as someone that like paints and stuff, when the really like hyper realistic painting that they originally were going to use got like messed up and covered in the red paint, I was like, no, because it looks so good. Let me think what else. Oh, I want to talk about the horse. So the stable boy, wait, why am I, no, that is usually what they're called. I mean, he's not supposed to be like a boy, he's like a man, but the stable hand, whatever, he has a horse, and it's funny because like it's supposed to be like in the story like a real horse. I like when they have footage of him riding it, it's like this really poorly made like video, and when they needed him to ride away from the family house, they just play the video backwards. That was funny. At one point the horse gets shot, and it cuts to like a cardboard horse that gets like blown up a ridiculous amount. That was also pretty funny. But they have the horse played by a guy, and it's just a guy on a horse head, and whenever the horse is supposed to leave with the the stable guy on it, he's like, he's supposed to be this like good looking kind of rugged looking dude, and he'll make kind of like an attractive face when he's on this horse. You're supposed to be impressed, but like the guy playing the horse will leave, but the other actor will like not move, so it just looks really awkward but kind of funny. But the horse head, it has like mechanical stuff in it, where there's like eyes inside of it, and the eyes pop out at one point, and then they end up, I think, getting put back in. I think the most cursed thing about this horse, besides the design of it, if you watch the show, you'll get what I mean. The horse head's kind of creepy. Is that it has a vacuum inside of it, and you think that's weird, but there's a point in the story where the horse is supposed to be eating oats, and it's supposed to be, kind of gentle, like someone's holding in their hands oats, and you see that the horse eats. I thought it was going to be like a silly little joke of like, oh, they're going to have the guy eat the oats instead. No, the horse's tongue is a vacuum, so it could vacuum up the oats, but the guy doesn't like, with the horse head, like lean into the hand or something to like vacuum up the oats. No, they have it where the tongue extends, the tongue vacuum. So it's just this horse head with like a really, really long fake tongue that vacuums shit. That was a little bit cursed, honestly. But it ends up being funnier later knowing it's a vacuum, and you can hear the vacuum sound too, where I think the horse, like before it dies or something, or no, I think when the horse is almost revealed to be dead, the owner of the horse like runs up to the horse and is like, no, you got shot, and rests the horse's head on his lap, and the vacuum activates, and it like attacks his balls, and he's like screaming. That was the funniest shit. But yeah, there's some wacky stuff going on with the horse. That was pretty funny. One of the parts of it was like actually a little scary. I think because the actors treat it as it's like, whoa, this is like a life or death situation. Is the family is eating dinner, right? And there's a fan above them. Okay, I have to actually fully set this up so it makes more sense. So at one point when they're playing, I think it is cricket, they end up whacking a ball. I shouldn't have compared the stick to like a hammer. It's kind of more like a golf club now that I think about it. They end up whacking a ball. It's funny too, the timing of it, where it's like the father of the house and he's like, oh, I have never mistreated any of my staff. And at the same time, he like whacks a ball and it flies through a window and it hits something on the roof and it lands on top of the maid's head. You can see it in the background, and she like falls over, so it's like he accidentally hurt her. And it breaks something with the roof for that specific room, so then it causes rain to fall down on one specific seat, so someone ends up getting soaked later on during dinner. And then they turn the water off, they like send a guy up there, and that causes a fan to drop. So it's like they're at dinner and they're, I think, like saying grace or something before they eat, and which I didn't think it was like actual food they were using. I was kind of impressed by that. And the fan is still spinning, and it's spinning like really fast, and it's falling like lower and lower towards the family, and the actors are like freaking out because this fan is so fast, it's like literally going to decapitate them. Like they can't stop this thing, and it ends up getting so low that they all sink into their chairs. So it's supposed to be like a nice family dinner, but they all look like terrified. If they move too much, they're gonna get decapitated. And the sister in the pink dress, her eyes look like they're gonna pop out of her head. Like, I know it's not real, but I felt so sorry for her. But yeah, that made the dinner scene more funny, but also just felt really tense of like, in universe, this fan would decapitate them. So it's like they have to, and the script commands it where they have to like pass things to each other during the meal, and they have to like toss the food around the table. There's one point where the father's telling the daughter in the pink dress, like, try the cranberry sauce, and it's like an actual like cranberry like cube or whatever on his fork, and she has to like lean in, like kind of slide around the table and actually puts it in her mouth and then like sinks back to her chair because she's like so scared of this like fan and stuff. And the joke keeps going. So it's like they send a person, like a staff person, to repair the fan or whatever. Or I think what ends up saving them from the fan right before that is like the maid and the butler come in and they actually yank the fan off the table. So no one's gonna get decapitated. But they send like a repair guy up there, I think originally, to like get rid of the fan. Sorry, I'm a bit sleepy. So they send someone to get rid of the fan. So the fan is gone. I think the butler rips it off the ceiling or something. But he pulls it so hard that the repair guy falls through the hole in the roof and he ends up just on their table and they have to like continue with this dinner scene. And then it gets really funny where it's like they have a hook thing and they end up hooking it to his pants and they're like, okay, they're gonna like lift this guy out of the scene, but it doesn't lift him, it just lifts his pants. So he's like butt exposed on the table, and within the dinner scene, it's right at the point where they're gonna like carve up like a ham or something, or like a roast or whatever, like a big piece of meat. And they have to do this with this man's butt. They don't actually cut into it or anything, but like the actors are kind of like, the in-universe ones are like freaked out of like, we're not gonna eat this guy. The maid character was gonna like, because she's still talking as if it's like a piece of meat they're gonna eat, of like, oh, I have to stick this temperature thing, and she looks like she's actually gonna do it, and the other actress is like, no, it's okay, we'll just eat the food how it is. So yeah, the whole joke of like, you know, they're talking about like meat, but there's like a person's like actual butt there. Just like the whole timing of that was like really funny. Let me think, what else is there? I did actually really like the storyline for this one. You know, where the pink daughter is like in love with this stable hand guy, and he ends up giving her a locket that's like, you know, the titular locket, and she's like trying to hide it from the family, pretending it's like a family heirloom, so, you know, they don't realize she's in love with someone else. And the guy that's supposed to marry her doesn't actually love her. So it kind of works out that way, but it's that he's marrying her for her title, and he's like trying to sabotage the stable guy in order to like get him to leave and whatever. Oh, there's a funny bit with that where he like is trying to like give him money, and then so he can like pin him as a thief later on, but the actor playing the stable hand character keeps thinking he's like actually be given the money, and it's like a wrong timing thing. And then there's a point, so that kind of goes on for a bit, that joke, but it was like still kind of funny. It's like a very much like back and forth thing, and then later on, the evil fiance is like trying to take the money back to like accuse this person of being a thief, but the money is in like a completely different pocket at that point, and he keeps pulling out like a credit card, or like the first thing he pulls out I think is like gum, and he makes a comment about it like, this is contemporary, or no, there's a joke about the money where he's like given a credit card and he's like, not your contemporary money, the play money. But I think with the gum he says like, gum hasn't been invented yet, because, you know, this is like a period piece story. And that whole bit with like all the random shit in the pocket that's like not supposed to be in the play, but also not supposed to be in that time period, that got a laugh out of me. But yeah, I did not expect anyone to get shot in this storyline. They have it where the fiance guy ends up getting shot, and you know in the story he was gonna get shot anyway, because that gets like spoiled early on within like the play itself. And hold on. And I think the gunshot sound effect doesn't go off at first or something, or the blood. Something usually gets messed up. You see it the most in the Lodge storyline, when like a character is supposed to die and something goes wrong, so they have to just kind of like fake it at that moment. Like I think in the Lodge, one of the characters die, and it takes like 5 minutes for them to like actually die. But yeah, a character like gets, I think a couple characters get shot, but then they like come back to life. Um, and it ends up being like a happy ending. I'm so used to things within these plays going wrong that like when something goes right, I was like actually impressed instead of like treating it as normal. Not like literally impressed, but like within the storyline, I'm like, oh, hey, something actually like went right for once in this episode. They have it where it's like stormy weather or something, or like cloudy, and then they're like, oh, the clouds cleared up. And I was expecting it to like start actually raining or some shit, but instead it's like they turn like a light on and they make it so like the sun really did come out. And I was like, aw, something actually like happened correctly and on time for once. They needed that. But yeah, I like the storyline for Harper's Locket, but also just there's a lot of like funny things in there. There was like an ending joke with it too that was like kind of funny, but no, wait, I think it was that like part of the set ends up getting kind of destroyed. One more joke that was funny. The father, he's like dying. He has to take pills. He also ends up coughing like way too loudly and stuff. And there's a pill box, and he like keeps trying to open it throughout the play, and he's never able to get it open. And the one time he does, instead of like little teeny pills, like I was expecting like, like little mints or something, it's one gigantic pill, and he has to like put it inside his mouth. There's another point when he's supposed to eat the pill and he can't get the box open. He just puts the entire pill box in his mouth. And the design of it has these like black lines, and it's like a white blocks. They're like black vertical lines. So he puts it in his mouth, and you can obviously tell there's like something in his mouth. But then he opens his mouth, and it just makes it look like he has like cartoon teeth or something. I'm assuming the design of that was on purpose, but it made the joke look a lot funnier, honestly. But yeah, the comically sized pill, it's like oval shaped and like the size of the box. That was funny. I kept expecting, and especially because they used like, I guess, edible things. I don't know if it was like real food in like the dinner scene, like with the cranberry sauce and stuff. I was expecting somebody to start like fake choking or whatever is another one of the something went wrong type of things. But yeah, that was a good episode. And then I'm going to talk about the final one, which is The Spirit of Christmas. I wish I wasn't so tired right now, because that was some of the like funniest shit I've seen all week, and I want to be like more excited to talk about it, but I'm like so tired right now. So forgive my lack of enthusiasm, but trust me when I say it was the funniest episode for me. So it's a Christmas episode. It's also a musical episode. Where it's this like cute little Christmas storyline. It feels like it would be the plot of like a kid's Christmas movie or something. Actually, it felt like it would be like a kid's Christmas movie I would have watched like on like Cartoon Network or something. Like a live action early 2000s one that like I would have watched as a kid that would have been like kind of bad, but you're like nostalgic for it type of thing. Where it's basically, there's this little girl named Belle, and she has these parents. She's a mom and a dad that are like always fighting, and at the beginning of the play, her dad ends up leaving. I don't remember why he leaves, but like she thinks it's her fault, and she gets really sad, and she decides, so it's just like her and her mom, right? And the mom leaves, I think, to like just go upstairs or something, probably go to bed. And Belle is like, hey, can I stay downstairs? I want to see if Dad's going to come home so I can, like, wish him a happy Christmas. And the mom's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then Santa shows up. It's supposed to be Santa and these two elves, and they have, like, a little Christmas adventure. They don't actually, like, really go anywhere, but it's more like magic stuff happens. This is, like, I think the only episode I'm going to, like, describe the full plot for, and I'll, like, talk about it and stuff. So it's supposed to be Santa and these two elves, and there's also a magic snowman, and I think that's actually it in terms of characters. But there's like a lot of like props and stuff. I really like the design of the set. It feels so cozy because it's supposed to be like a family's house during Christmas and stuff. I think that's part of the other reason I liked the episode. But yeah, it's like a simple storyline of like a magic adventure and stuff. It felt like like it would be the plot of like an actual movie I would like see on as like a kid. So I think that's part of the reason I liked the episode as well. It like felt kind of nostalgic in a way, even though it is also kind of like the plot of the Nutcracker, like a little girl goes on like a magical adventure during Christmas. Except they, in this one they're just in this girl's house and also her backyard. They don't like actually go anywhere. But there was like plenty of things in this I like. I want to talk about the main thing, which is like half the reason I wanted to make this video, honestly, because it was just the funniest thing in the world to me at the time. And it was one of the things in these episodes where I laughed so hard I like couldn't breathe, and I had to pause multiple times because I was like laughing too hard. I had to like calm myself down. So there's a Santa character. He's played by the in-universe actor that like is always like overacting and stuff, and to the point where like the characters kind of make fun of him sometimes for it. And he at the beginning of this play, he has this, because he's supposed to be Santa. He has this interaction with these like kids, and he's supposed to give them toys, and the kids are asking for video game consoles, and he just gives them copies of his book or whatever. So yeah, he's not doing great, and then he, ends up having to be Santa for the actual play. It takes like a while for him to show up. So, the mother character leaves, instead of cookies and milk for Santa, she leaves like a little glass of like sherry and, like the alcohol and, I think like mince pies or something. And the thing with the food is like they're not actually able to eat it because it's like stuck on a plate. But the thing with the drink, as the Santa character finds out, because like characters will have to like drink alcohol in like plays and stuff, but it's obviously not like actual alcohol. It's like something colored or whatever. I don't think they could actually drink like alcohol on stage because they're doing a performance, they're working. No, in this, the drink turns out to be real. The Santa character does not know this until he's drunk, and he comments on it. He's like, "Oh, that was real sherry," and then he realizes, because they have like a little drink dispenser thing in the house for the alcohol, that alcohol is also real, and he's not feeling great. So he drinks the little shot, and then he goes to the drink station thing. He like makes a comment about it or whatever, and he just keeps taking shots out of this little shot glass, and for whatever reason they just keep the drink thing flowing for a while. So he drinks a bunch of those, and then he ends up taking a bottle, and he like carries it with him for like the entire episode, and he keeps drinking it, and the other actors keep trying to like in character take it away from him. He does actually get it taken away at one point, and then he ends up finding a second one. I think like a stage technician ends up popping up and like actually has to like physically take it from him, and he doesn't even realize. So he drinks so much of like this real alcohol that he ends up getting fucking wasted, and it is so funny for the rest of the play, because he he's supposed to be Santa, but he's like drunk, but it's like the in-universe actor basically just being himself and making comments about shit. And it reminded me a little bit of like the Peter Pan play a little bit, but it was so funny because like he is not only making fun of the storyline, because it's supposed to be like a Christmas play for kids and stuff, and that it's like a very basic storyline where like things aren't supposed to make sense. It's like it's just supposed to be like Santa cheering up this little girl or whatever, but like he's commenting on shit of like not making sense or whatever, and it's in like a very deadpan way, and that was really funny. But he's also just kind of drunk in general, so it's like, and this is already supposed to be a guy that is like giving these super dramatic performances, so it's like bumped up to 11 with him being drunk. Like there's a point where he does a musical number, and all of the other actors, they're like allowed to sing, but for the Santa character, they have him like dubbed over, like there's an actual person who's like providing the vocals, and he's like right off camera or something, and the drunk Santa, as I'll refer to him for the rest of this, is like walking around weird the entire he's like really wobbly the rest of the play, but during this like musical segment he's like moving around too much, and he ends up actually taking the microphone. He's like, I'll take it from here, from the guy that's actually singing, and he's like drunk singing really loud, and I cracked. That was the point I like cracked up so hard I like couldn't breathe, because he's like drunk singing, so it sounds like super bad. And oh my gosh, just his whole acting of like when he's like acting as this drunk Santa was just freaking hilarious. Um, and he like keeps messing things up, but it's just the way the actors, I think the actress playing Belle is like trying to take the bottle of alcohol away from him. There's one point where she like tries to hug Santa, but she like takes the bottle and he's like or I think she tries to take it. And you know, they're trying to stay in character while they're trying to interact with him and stuff. There's one point where Belle's like, no, the Santa is like, hey, let's have another bottle of the sherry, and Belle's like, I'm just a little girl, and he's like, you're 26. So it's like comments like that, or his comments, oh my gosh, his comments with the snowman. Okay, I gotta talk about the snowman. I think the snowman's the one that's played by Chris, the character, not like the actual actor. And that's the thing, he plays characters that are like really angry all the time. He takes these plays like very, very seriously compared to everyone else, and I hadn't seen him in a while in like some of these plays, but he shows up in the Christmas one, and he's playing the snowman character. I don't think the snowman was given a name. Maybe he was. So it's just him, and he's in this like giant oversized like snowman costume. Turns out he's not really wearing anything underneath that, as you find out later. And he's in this like snowman makeup, and the costume causes so many problems where he's like he has to have like, well, his hands are inside of the costume, but he has like stick arms and stuff, and he ends up like poking people. At one point, I think he tries to hug Belle, and her mouth ends up around like his carrot nose. There's a point where he's supposed to give, like, a button, like, you know how snowmen have buttons and stuff? He's, like, giving a button to Belle because she's sad. I think it's supposed to be, like, the button in the story is supposed to be, like, a dessert or something. Except he doesn't have the snowman costume at that point, so he has to give the button from his, like, underwear or something. Which I'm surprised the underwear, like, did not fall off. I was expecting the joke, because he lost the snowman costume. I'll explain that. I was expecting his underwear to fall off and he's wearing like something else underneath or whatever, but it never does. And Belle actually has to put this like plastic button like in her mouth and I think eat it. I didn't see her spit it out, and she doesn't choke on it. I'm assuming she swallowed the damn thing. Probably not, but like that's kind of what it looked like. But the funniest thing to me with the snowman was the drunk Santa will just tell him like multiple times, Chris, this is not your best acting, which is true, because like not like he does worse as the snowman, it's just so different from like his other performances, and he usually plays like the lead roles in a lot of these plays, so he has done better acting, but just that constant comment of like you've done better than this, Chris, was just so funny to me. But I think my favorite part with the snowman character, and this is why I said he lost his costume at some point, was eventually in the play, I think like halfway through, because Santa spends the whole story trying to cheer up Belle, and then at the end he realizes like, oh, she just wanted her family. So at one point he has this machine show up, and it's like this magic Christmas machine, and it's supposed to give you any toy you want. And you get to see how it works at first, where it dispenses this unicorn toy, and Santa gets angry and pulls it out, and it cuts the toy in half, and the toy is in half. It's just like a cute little unicorn stuffed animal for the rest of the play. But around that same time, the snowman, I think it's after they dispense the unicorn, the snowman has a musical number, because like almost every character gets a song. I think there's like 4 or 5 songs in this. I have comments on all the songs, actually. But the snowman gets a song, and he does, like, fine, actually. And his costume gets... I think the scarf on the costume gets stuck in the machine.
and it pulls his entire costume into the machine. So it's like he's singing and he's doing good, and then his vocals are getting like, really distressed because his costume. It's even in the Amazon Prime description of getting like literally eaten by the snowman machine. I mean the Christmas machine, whatever. So he ends up just in his underwear, and he has to stay like that for the entire play, even in the end when he's supposed to be standing outside. And he's just holding up the straw, not the straw, the stick arms. And he still has all the snowman, like, face paint and the fake nose and everything, thankfully, but he just doesn't have the costume. The costume was just kind of funny looking to me. It wasn't even, like, a bad costume or anything. It's just this, like, super poofy, like, snowman body, like the two giant snowballs. But then he just has like a human head, and the contrast of that was just so weird to me. But it's probably supposed to be like that on purpose. Probably less cursed than if they gave him some kind of like snowman head or something, like a mask or whatever. The thing is, the snowman originally actually did have a head, but like before it ends up coming to life, and Belle goes to kiss it, and the head actually falls off. So I'm kind of wondering, oh, that's maybe why the Chris snowman didn't have a head. But they do this thing when the snowman comes to life where he's on the other side of a wall, and they just flip it, and then he's there. So like maybe even if the fake snowman's head didn't come off, he probably still wouldn't have had one. I don't know. But yeah, the snowman gets some funny moments. Drunk Santa is like the funniest thing to me in this play. Belle is actually a character, her and one of the elves that I'll talk about in a second, that's played like completely straight. Nothing, they don't have really like bad things like happen to them. They're playing these characters. They're just trying their best to like get through this play. Honestly, they're playing their characters well and everything, and like so seriously. Belle kind of just more reacts to like all the crazy things around her, which I think just made it funnier, honestly. Though I do like that during her song, it's like the very first like song in the play, she's singing about like writing her Christmas list and what she actually wants and stuff. But for whatever reason, I couldn't see anything like in the background or something. She's like increasingly getting stressed, and her notes are getting higher and higher. I don't know if it's like in universe it's supposed to be like the actress can't sing, so it's like she keeps messing up the notes and going off key. It was like kind of funny, but she kind of just looked more scared, and I'm like, why is Belle so freaked out? There's like no one here. But I did like Belle as a character, and then there's these two elves, like I mentioned. It's like these. I don't know if they're supposed to be like twins. I don't actually know what both the elves look like, because it's like a girl elf and a guy elf, and they're supposed to come down the chimney with Santa, and the guy elf gets stuck in the chimney mechanism where he's actually stuck inside the fireplace prop. They like remove one of the bricks, and his face is there, and he gets stuck, and he's like that for the rest of the play. The thing is, nothing else happens to him. Well, he does actually almost get burned alive. I forgot about that. But like he never is able to come out of that chimney, so you never get to actually see his costume, what he looks like. But he has all his lines memorized and everything, so like he's able to otherwise perform fine. Like he does his lines when he's supposed to and everything, except sometimes he comments about like not being able to breathe or whatever. The fireplace, it has a mechanism where it's actually able to turn on, and that's the point where he almost gets like burned and stuff. Or no, wait, I think he does end up getting burned actually. But yeah, so then the other elf, she has to like not only try to help Belle keep Santa in line once he gets super wasted, but she has to like perform, because her whole gimmick, it's like these two elves, and they're very close and stuff, and they work together. She has to like do a whole solo act, but do it as if like the other elf is there. So it just ends up being really awkward. Like she has to do a whole song. It's supposed to be like a fun song with choreography and everything, and she has to only do her part. So it's like she'll have to give a high five or whatever as an example, and like the other person isn't there. So like he's singing the song too and like pitching in his lines, but I was just like, damn, she has to do like the whole thing on her own. but it made her character feel weird where it's like she would react to stuff, and it's obviously supposed to be like both elves are like they're leaning against each other's shoulders or something, and it's like the other elf is not there. But I liked her. I'm trying to think what else. They end up opening the box with the wrong props at one point. So there's like props that are supposed to be used in a kitchen because like the mom is cooking, and then props of like Christmas tree decorations, and they end up opening the wrong ones. So it's like they're cooking with like tinsel and cutting up Christmas ornaments, and they end up opening to another box to decorate the tree, and they're putting sausage links on the tree. And then what's kind of funny to me is like the stuff with Belle's family, like especially with her parents, things actually don't really go wrong, which was kind of nice. So you get a glimpse into a world of like what if this storyline was like done in a way where the play wasn't constantly getting messed up. And the dad, it turns out the reason he left the family for a while, I think he's gone for like a couple hours, and he ends up coming back around like 10 p.m. or something, and they're like, hey, we were worried about you. It turns out, because the parents get into an argument about like the star for the tree. I think it's like gone missing or something. The dad found it, and it was outside the whole time or whatever. And he brings it in. It's supposed to be a nice moment where they like put it up on the tree, and it's the chicken that or turkey or whatever that the mom was supposed to be cooking at the beginning that got replaced with Christmas ornaments. They have this like fake tree in the background that's covered in like sausage links and then decorated with like a giant turkey on the top, which just looked really funny and kind of ruined the like wholesome family Christmas mode and everything. Trying to think what else. But yeah, the musical numbers themselves were good. It's just like funny things were happening and stuff. Um, but I think that still worked. I think that was fun and kind of went with the vibe of the storyline of having it where there's like four different musical numbers. They were fun. It's like supposed to be like a family friendly Christmas story, so having all these songs and stuff I think just matched the vibe and everything. But yeah, the Santa just being super drunk in all the comments he made about things, and the fact that he kept trying to get more Sherry throughout like the entire rest of the play, it was just really funny to me. And he just did not care about the storyline, and he was tired of everyone's shit. Trying to remember if he had any other comments, because like he was making fun of the snowman. He kind of made comments that like Belle and the one of the elves just kind of not as much making fun of them, but just kind of like, oh yeah, this doesn't make sense or whatever. Um, and then there's another character that ends up as like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at the end, which is funny to me. I kept waiting for that to happen because you see him at the beginning when he asks the director when he's doing his little like introduction blurb, and he's like, "What sounds does a reindeer make?" And the guy was like, "You should figure that out in rehearsals or whatever." And then you finally get to see the reindeer at the end. And it just has like a line, like it just talks because the guy doesn't know what reindeer sound he's supposed to make. I wish I remembered what the line was and if it was like actually funny or not. You know. Um, Let me think. What else? Oh yeah, the way the snowman moves is also funny because like the legs don't have enough room, so he's kind of like hopping around everywhere. And the reason there's like a talking snowman, I should probably clarify. Um, I thought it was gonna have to relate to like Belle in the beginning of the story because the beginning she like builds the snowman and she like gives it a kiss in the head, which like does not cause it to come back to life or anything. Um, I thought it was gonna be related somehow. It wasn't, and it's just that Santa brings the snowman to life as like, oh, maybe Belle needs a friend, and the snowman's there like the rest of the storyline, but Belle doesn't really care as much about like the snowman or anything. Um, but yeah, she does get what she wants at the end of like her parents together, and the elves even mention like oh, maybe she didn't need us after all. But she does, like, get to say goodbye to them and stuff um, towards the end when they end up leaving. Oh, yeah, all of the present props that Santa has turn out to just be the actor's, like, books that he's written about acting or whatever. And they end up falling on Santa when he originally tries to go through the chimney. Um, so that was pretty funny. Just anything with the chimney, especially at the point when like the chimney ends up like almost falling down, and then three actors, or I think it's like two of the stagehands and one of the actors, ends up like appearing just immediately to like catch it, so it doesn't actually fall. So I think this one um, has like the least amount of like the set getting destroyed and stuff. It's more of like wacky things happen to the characters and such. Okay, I'm feeling like kind of tired. It is actually almost midnight for me. So I wish I could remember more about this episode, but it's mostly just like the drunk Santa I wanted to talk about. I feel like with this episode and with this, especially the Santa's hijinks and stuff, I feel like it's funnier like if you actually watch the episode rather than like me describing it. But I just kind of wanted to talk about like some of my favorite jokes. But yeah, the Santa was like the main reason why this episode was easily my favorite. But there was just so many things going on with it and things going wrong with the characters that I think just made it like so funny. But also because I was like actually interested in the storyline. I think that's why I really liked the horror episode as well. I like actually got into the story because even with some of the other episodes, if like the episodes were funny and everything, it's like sometimes I just didn't really care much about the storyline. There's at least like 3 episodes I mentioned with this where it's like I can't really even recall what the story was, or the characters' relationships and stuff. So I feel like that kind of affected how much I, overall enjoyed the episodes. I don't remember like skipping or anything while I was watching these, but uh, sometimes I just wasn't really paying attention as much. I knew that when it's like I was becoming a bit less interested. But what was nice with this show was like I said, every episode was like half an hour. Um, so whether I liked an episode or not, it's like it was easy to like get through them. But yeah, that's like pretty much my thoughts with the show. It was like really funny in general. I was fine actually with the episode lengths, but at the same time they were really the thing is like not every episode was like consistently funny, like all the time it was funny, and some felt funnier to me than others, and that's like all subjective. So it wasn't a show where like even though I was like laughing my ass off for some of these episodes, especially the horror one and the Christmas one, it wasn't one where I finished and I was like, oh, I could have watched like 6 more seasons of that. It was more so of like I was enjoying it in the moment, and a lot of the show was funny, and it's like at the time, like, I didn't want to end, but by the time I got through the 6 episodes, I was like, okay, I think I'm good. Though I am excited that it's going to, I have some of the actual, uh, like, stage plays and stuff to watch. Because, like, I'm hyped to watch the Peter Pan one again, because I vaguely remember it, but, like, I remember it was funny. That's the main thing I remember. And then the Christmas Carol one I haven't seen at all, so that's going to be completely new to me. Like I said, I might talk about those, I might not. I might just make like a YouTube post on it, like my thoughts. We'll see. I was going to watch the Peter Pan one first because that one was like older in terms of the two actual like plays and stuff. But I think I'm gonna watch the Christmas Carol one first because like I've never seen it, and also because like I just finished this show with like the Christmas episode. So I feel like even though I'm not watching this on like the same day, I think it'll just kind of like flow nicely, honestly. But yeah, there's like 2 other plays. I don't see them like on YouTube or anything, but I think I'm good with just having access to like 2 of the 4. And at least one of them is like one that I've never seen, so that should be nice. Because like I'm familiar with Christmas Carol through like the Muppets movie specifically. But Peter Pan, it's like I kind of know a little about Peter Pan, at least from like the Disney movie. So at least these are like adaptations, and they're ones I'm like at least somewhat familiar with. So should should make the plays funny, or more funny with context, I guess. Okay, I think this was almost like 2 hours. I didn't mean to talk for like this long or anything. It's just I had like kind of a lot of thoughts in these. But yeah, they were really funny. I recommend this show. I mean, I'm only talking about the first season. If I had access to the second, like if I didn't have to pay for it, I would totally watch it and like give my thoughts on that too. If it ever becomes like free on anything I have, I'll totally give it a go and probably talk about it because they have like other themes for the episodes. Like I think the episode for the next season, according to Amazon, was like on the nativity, like Jesus's birth and stuff. And I think it ends with like the different in-universe actors start putting on like picking the themes for like their own like plays that they direct or something. And there is supposed to be like a finale episode and stuff. I think it's supposed to be like a circus themed play or something. So that sounded cool. But even if this is all I end up watching of just like this one season and I guess eventually the like full length plays, I think that's good enough for me. This was like fun while it lasted. So yeah, there's gonna be more for me to watch on my end. We'll see if I'm talking about it. I'm gonna go to bed. Bye.